Hi everyone, welcome back to Susan Dawn Spiritual Connections. Welcome to a brand new Sacred Union reading or Ascension Relationship Energy Update. I'm not quite sure which way this is going to go. The Ascension Relationship Energy Updates are the deeper dives that look at kind of like the higher level of what's going on. And the reason why I'm doing a reading today is because the energy feels kind of intense. It's very strange times that we're in right now, very strange times. And I feel like the telepathy is at an all-time high. I feel like we're feeling energy at an all-time high. And it's very strange, especially when it comes to our collective ascension, our global ascension. But if we narrow that down to our individual journeys, especially for those who are on the Sacred Union path, you're experiencing that within a connection with another, somebody who has catalyzed you to your ascension journey. For myself, it's a pivotal week for me, something that always tends to come up. I've been experiencing a lot of full circle moments, is what I call them, over the past 2 years on my journey, as I've been moving into this higher heart ascension. And you can follow along with these channelings over on Susan Dawn Ascension Connections, where we have channeled over the past 2 years this journey's end. Moving on from one phase of our journey, there's a closure that's happening, and moving into what I call the higher heart ascension. And if you relate to your Sacred Union path of ascension, if you relate that to your twin flame connection, whatever it is that you want to call it, your sacred partnership, your divine counterpart energy, whatever you want to call your journey, we've talked about this, where there's the beginning part of your journey where you meet and you're activated with your partner in more of like an unconscious state. And what happens is the unconscious begins to become conscious. And that is the journey. You go through the healing journey, you go through the conscious states of awareness, you go through expansions, you go through purges, because you're clearing all of that, what I like to call soul sludge. And you're coming back to the truth of yourself, you're coming back to the soul resonance of yourself, you're connecting deeper to yourself, and you're connecting deeper to God and the universe. This is a higher level of awakening. You might go through many spiritual awakenings in your lifetime, and then you're activated to your ascension journey, which is like a whole nother ballgame. And it's really a deep dive into clearing all patterns and programs, and really connecting back to that core truth, to your authentic self, your sovereign self, that personal empowerment, self-love, personal embodiment, so that you can expand into that unity consciousness and open up for that unconditional love with everyone. That's it in a nutshell, in a very succinct nutshell. It's a lot more deeper than that. It has more depth than that, but that's it in a nutshell. So when you're activated to your ascension journey, especially with a counterpart, you trigger each other and you go through these cycles, and you're clearing karma, and you're clearing patterns, and you're clearing wounding, and you're doing this healing journey, what we call a healing journey. And then you get to such a level, and that level includes maybe some detachment and disconnection, and maybe even some separation. Remember, separation is an illusion. You're never truly separate from anything or anyone. But you might experience some of that separation energy, because that separation is to call you closer home to yourself, and to recognize that separation is an illusion. And what happens is you go into that higher heart, and the higher heart is that unity consciousness. The higher heart is that higher connection, and I call it the higher heart ascension because it's the next phase of your journey. And we've been channeling that for maybe the past 2 years, that one journey has been coming to a close and another is beginning, and that is the cyclical nature of life, and that's the cyclical nature of our ascension. That's the cyclical nature of everything, and there are endings, and those endings create new beginnings. And we've been in a little bit of a transition period, and I really have felt for myself, at the very least, and I know some of you have shared that you're feeling the same, that there's been a lot of closure, that there's been a lot of full circle moments. And for me, those full circle moments, it's almost like revisiting parts of the past, as a new higher consciousness and a higher frequency with higher perspectives and new perspectives. And that too is what the ascension journey is all about. The ascension journey is that spiral, and it's an inner spiral. As you're raising your frequency, you're going deeper and deeper into connecting with yourself, and deeper into understanding things that you might not have understood previously. That's where I always say, have compassion for yourself, for what you didn't know. You didn't know what you didn't know. And when you do know, that's when you make new choices. That's when you make new conscious decisions. That's when you behave differently, embody differently, etc. So I feel for myself, I've been experiencing over the past 2 years a lot of full circle moments where I've been revisiting places of the past. Or, for example, when I was in Europe, I went to Carcassonne, and that's when 15 years ago, I had a major spiritual awakening, my first major spiritual awakening. And I have all that up on the blog if you're interested in reading about that, Susan Dawn Spiritual /blog. I talked about that. Um, and how important that was, and how profound that felt for me to kind of revisit this place that had once been so kind of anxiety inducing, as much as an amazing adventure as it was the first time. I was going through a spiritual awakening. I didn't know I was going through a spiritual awakening at the time, but that's exactly what it was. And now that I'm at this different frequency and different level of consciousness and different, I have this new knowledge about myself and about spirituality. I can look at things differently. I can look at it on the past differently, and it's almost like I closed a loop there. Um, I've been doing that over the past 2 years in many different ways with regards to my own personal life. And there's another one that's coming up tomorrow. Tomorrow is 6 years since I began this ascension journey, was activated with my divine counterpart. Um, it was, I remember very clearly because it was my grandmother's birthday, and it was the night before Thanksgiving. And what's interesting about that is tomorrow's the night before Thanksgiving. So my grandmother's birthday, 11/22, my grandmother who had passed, her 11/22 was, back then, Thanksgiving always falls on a Thursday, but the dates might always be different. Well, 11/22 fell on the night before Thanksgiving 6 years ago, and it's falling on the night before Thanksgiving again tomorrow. So it feels like there's this full circle moment, this closure that's happening there again. And the journey continues for me. It will always continue, but there is some kind of closure that's happening. There's some kind of full circle moment. And it's with a lot of reflection, a lot of gratitude for everything that I've experienced the past 6 years, while knowing that there is also this ending that has transpired and I'm moving on. And what those are specifically, I'm still learning. It's still being revealed to me. I'm still getting some clarity on what that is. And I've been talking with some soul sisters about this, and it's interesting because it definitely feels like there's a door that has been closed and a new door that has opened. But what that new door entails, I'm still not sure. And I've shared that with you guys as well, that the new door, it might be something from the past, someone from the past. That door is open, but it must be in a different frequency. And that's what it feels like I'm closing out. It feels like I'm closing out that old version of myself. And that old version of myself includes maybe how I acted in my unconscious state and all the wounded states of myself. Maybe that includes how I treated myself and how I allowed myself to be treated by others. That's what I'm closing out, and that's what feels like it's come to an end. Because for the past 2 years, I've really been working, well, for the past 6 years, really, I've been working very hard on myself and working on healing and shifting that energy within me. And I've come to this place of anchoring in and embodying this new frequency and this new energy and putting that into practice. And it really feels like that past has closed, like that door has shut. And that doesn't mean that I can't carry those lessons with me. You carry the lessons with you. You carry the wisdom with you. You carry the energy with you. And in some respects, you even carry those dynamics with you. But those dynamics too shift. I have friends who are in my life, who have been in my life for a decade, 20 years more, most of my life. And what's beautiful about those friendships is how they have evolved and how they continue to expand and how they continue to grow and how we all become different versions of ourselves, but we grow together. And so it's, even when I look at some of my oldest friendships, we're not the same people that we were when we were in high school, for example. One of my oldest friendships is somebody I've been best friends with since high school. He's not the same person, and I'm not the same person, but our friendship has continued to develop and grow. And what's beautiful about that is we're definitely continuing to be different versions of ourselves, but we're continuing to learn about each other and honor that growth. And his wife has become one of my best friends too, and we've formed this beautiful connection, this beautiful bond between all of us. And I can see that with all of my other friendships. There are some friendships, of course, that fade away, some relationships that fade away. And that's just because people may not be on the same frequency, but that doesn't mean that they won't be later on. I akin it to a radio frequency. Sometimes you're tuned to the same station and sometimes you're not. And it's not a superiority thing, it's not a better or worse thing. It's just sometimes you're on that same wavelength and sometimes you're not. And sometimes you find each other on the same, you mess around with the radio dial a little bit, you're discovering yourself, and sometimes you find yourself back on the same wavelength again. So no doors are shut, doors close, but it doesn't mean that whatever was there in the past is gone forever. Life is not so black and white like that, and that's the beautiful nature of the universe. It's not so black and white like that. It's just an energy shift. It's just an energy change. And as your energy shifts and changes and your frequency rises, so too do other people's and other situations and circumstances. You can see that with your physical manifestations as well. I'm certainly not in the same place that I used to be 10, 20 years ago, because I'm not the same person. And what is being brought in is now indicative of who I have become. So it's interesting. There's been a lot of full circle moments that are coming in, and with that, I feel very strongly that the twin connection feels very strong. And for myself personally, the twin is not physically present in my life at this time, but the telepathy feels kind of crazy. And what's interesting is I had that dream in the past Sacred Union Energy Update that I talked about, where I was reuniting with my divine counterpart, and there was just such joy and happiness and love between the two of us. And I saw him smile. In that smile, there was so much happiness when he saw me, and so much genuine joy. And I said to him, I said to myself, seeing him like that, I haven't seen you smile like this in a really long time. And it was him. It was like I was seeing him in his unguarded self, where he was just allowing himself to love me and love and be happy and be joyful. And it was just so beautiful, because that's how I've always seen him. Beneath everything, that's what I've always seen in him. And it was just really beautiful. And when I woke up, I said, what the fuck was that? I said, what the hell? Because it really shook me up, because our physical situation hadn't felt like that for a very long time. Our physical situation had felt very painful, and it shook me up, and it's been present with me for a while now. And I feel like there's been a lot of telepathy since then. I have felt over the past couple of days, I was really under the weather, so I was just kind of taking care of myself and resting. And as I was resting, I was feeling that energy, and I was looking at my phone, because I literally felt like he was going to call any moment. And I don't honestly know how I feel about that. I don't honestly know how I feel about that, given our situation, but it's like it goes back and forth, where there's so much love, and that's what I've always just kind of focused on. With regards to our journey, with regards to our connection, unfortunately, there ended up being a lot of heartbreak and pain, but I can't help but keep being brought back to the love. And I had a dream just today, where I had this thought in the dream that I may never hear from my person again. And there was a little bit of sadness with that, but there was also an acceptance of that, because I always feel him with me, and I know that. And I know he's always with me. And I don't know, there's a lot of strangeness going on. A lot of strangeness. And it feels like we're just anchoring more and more into that union, more and more into that balance. I did a poll on Instagram a couple of days ago, where I asked you guys, how are you feeling? Are you feeling rage? Because last week we were feeling a lot of that rage and that anger. Are you feeling peace and balance? Are you feeling some kind of wibbly wobbly in between? And a lot of you guys responded that you were feeling either balanced or the wibbly wobbly in between. And that's what it feels like. It feels like we're kind of going back and forth, but not in a place of of it's a seesaw and everything feels chaotic. This feels much more balanced, and it's very interesting because it's like we can hold two emotions. We can hold that energy of feeling anger and that sacred anger that Kelly Ma has taught us over the past couple of weeks. I'll put links in the description box for those of you who are new, or those who didn't watch those readings. That sacred anger, we can hold that space for that sacred anger while still holding love. It's not one emotion or the other. It's not either or. You can hold more emotions at once. You can hold space for that, especially you divine feminines. You have that capability and that capacity to hold space for that. I feel like that's what the divine masculines are beginning to understand about the divine feminine. They're beginning to understand that the divine feminine, it's not black and white for her, that she can hold the energy of all emotions. And I feel like the divine masculines might have not been able to understand that within themselves, and not been able to understand that about the divine feminine, how she is able to hold more than one emotion, especially the emotion of love, and still be angry and still be upset, but still have unconditional love. I feel like the divine masculine, or the masculine template as a whole, is beginning to understand this and honor this about the divine feminine. And divine feminine, I feel like you're really beginning to understand this and honor this about yourself, that it's not one or the other. It never has been. Especially divine feminines, you're emotional beings, but you don't let your emotions rule you. You trust your intuition, you trust your emotions from that balanced state of being with that energy of rationale. And that's your gift, because that's that balance within you, that masculine and feminine presence within you, right? That you've anchored in, that union you've anchored in. It's like it's not going from one extreme to the other. You can hold the energy of that sacred anger. You can feel that sacred anger. You can feel hurt. You can feel heartbreak. You can feel upset. And you can still hold the energy of unconditional love for somebody. You can still hold the energy of forgiveness. I said to my divine masculine once after an argument, I said, I don't like you right now, or I don't like the way that you treated me, or whatever it was. I said, but I still love you. I may not have liked this, but I still love you. That's unconditional love. It is not unconditional acceptance. And that's what we've had to learn, divine feminines. We've had to learn how to honor ourselves. We've had to learn how to stand up for ourselves, how to speak up for ourselves, how to express ourselves, and especially how to say this is or is not okay. Because I'm going to honor myself now. I'm not going to abandon myself. I'm not going to neglect or reject myself. And I'm sure as hell not going to have somebody do the same to me. This is you demanding and claiming that respect for yourself. And kind of almost like demanding that of others. You're showing yourself that love, and so that's naturally what you're going to demand of others. When I say demand, put it into context, of course. But you're able to hold all of these emotions. And so as you're going back and forth, it's not as chaotic as it might have once felt. Now you can hold that space for yourself and be more of the observer rather than letting those emotions take hold of you. You can surrender to what it is that you're feeling rather than succumbing to the emotions. Again, there's a difference. There's a balance there. And I hope this is making sense. Okay, I feel like what I want to do is just a quick check-in on what is going on between the two, because it feels like, again, there's a lot of telepathy, there's a lot of timeline shifting, there's a lot of energy shifting, and there's a lot of acknowledgement between the two. For myself, to put it into context, I was doing pretty good. I mean, from August on, I feel like there was a tremendous shift within myself where I just have been kind of just letting go of everything in a not in an anger way, but in a really serene and peaceful way, in a balanced way, in a healthy way, very conscious way. And even when I was in Europe, I was just very focused on being very present, and I wasn't feeling my counterpart. I mean, I was feeling, of course, the sacred masculine with all my experiences there, but I wasn't as connected as I feel now, which is interesting. I liked not feeling connected because this feels intense, and not intense in a bad way, but just intense as in something's coming. You can feel the shift. You can feel the anticipation of it. You can feel the union. That's what it is. You can feel the union. And if you guys have been with me for especially the past year or 2 years, you know that it's been very hard for me to believe in that. And what I've done is I've just surrendered, the who, the what, the why, and just allowed myself to trust and believe in union, because at some point I have to trust and believe in myself. I have to believe in what I channel. I have to believe in the energy that I feel. And that's what I've surrendered to. That's what I do. I do trust this. I've been channeling this for 6 years. And I know my connection to myself. I know my connection to God. This journey didn't just begin for me. It took me a long time to realize this, but this journey didn't just begin for me when I met my counterpart. It began long before that. He just activated me to a new level and a higher level. And I feel so immensely grateful for that, because I wouldn't have been able to get there on my own. And I feel so grateful for his soul for knowing that, and for being that mirror for me, and for being that reflection for me, and for teaching me so much. And what's really interesting about all this is I always try to kind of divert away from sacred unions and twin flames, but I kept getting brought back to it. It wasn't something that I went looking for, and certainly wasn't something that I wanted to channel. But I kept getting that's what the energy that kept coming through. That's what I kept channeling, and so at some point I had to surrender. And with that surrender, at some point I just have to trust that, and I do. And if you have found yourself resonating with these readings in this collective, in this community, if you found yourself on a sacred union path, it's because you are meant for union. And what we've had to do is release maybe the attachment to the specifics, maybe to a specific person, maybe to a specific timeline, maybe to a specific outcome, because those are all remnants of control. And you have to allow yourself to kind of surrender to the universe and trust the universe, and even trust yourself and your soul self. And I feel like that's where I am. I will always consider the person who activated me my twin, because he has been my twin. He has served in that role. The labels don't matter. The labels really don't matter. I just don't know what else to call him. I just don't know what else to call him. But does that mean life partnership? I don't know. I don't think so, considering where we are now. But anything can change, and I know that. And I just feel like I've been open to every possibility, including meeting somebody new, including sacred union with somebody new, including sacred union with him. I'm just open to every possibility. And I feel like anytime I try to look ahead, I don't care to. I don't care to know. I had somebody offer to do me a reading, somebody that I know. It wasn't like a scam artist or anything like that. It was somebody that I know. They offered to do a reading for me, and I said, no. I said, thank you. I just don't want to know. I just don't care to know. I'm just kind of focused on what I'm building and what I'm creating, and just putting my trust in the universe and putting my trust in God. And when I do get readings from trusted friends and soul family, it's always bringing it back to myself. It's always, what is it that I need to know for my journey, for my ascension going forward? Because I always say this to you guys too, even if you're getting a relationship reading, we always bring it back to you, because it's about you. Your relationships are reflections of you. So if you've been a client, first of all, thank you. But know that that's because it is about you. Relationships are reflections of you, and that's why we always bring it back to you. What is it that you need to know, versus putting the emphasis on the other person? And I feel like that's where we are now. We're at that state of our ascension where it's like we know that there are other people involved. We know that there's another energy involved. And it might bring up some anxiety. I still have some periods of like, well, what's going on? But then I bring it back to that trust. I bring it back to that faith. I bring it back to knowing that, what, no matter what's going on with my original counterpart, no matter what's going on with, whoever might come in next, no matter what it is, like everything feels up in the air, but there's a sense of security that I have now within myself. That's the masculine energy that's anchored in to me. There's a sense of security now, that and stability, that I can trust the unknown. I don't have to fear the unknown. And they're showing me the Fool card in tarot, and the Fool is all about leaps of faith. The Fool is all about taking a risk. and jumping into the unknown. And the unknown can be really scary. It can feel like a risk. We had channeled this a long time ago. I forget what the title of the reading is called. I'll try to find it. But it's like, I'm getting I Jump, You Jump from Titanic. I Jump, You Jump, Jack. We channeled that a long time ago too. But it's like we channeled a message not too long ago about both the divine masculine and the divine feminine are afraid, because it's going to take a leap of faith. You're going to have to take a leap of faith towards each other. The divine masculine is going to have to take a leap of faith into the unknown to kind of approach or heal or mend with the divine feminine. And the divine feminine is going to have to take a leap of faith to open her heart again. And you're both fearing the same thing. You're both feeling the same thing, that it's a risk. But is love going to overcome that risk? Are you going to choose love, or are you going to choose to operate in fear? And the more that you just allow yourself to surrender to the unknown and surrender to that leap of faith, you're naturally choosing love by doing that. You're naturally following your intuition. You're naturally following your heart. All right, so let's see what's going on with these counterparts in this current energy. It feels a little bit intense. It's raining here. I can just feel... I feel the energy feels palpable. Like I feel like I can reach out and just like touch threads of energy right now. It's very strange. So what's going on for the divine masculine right now? I'm using this Journey of Love deck. I pulled out a whole bunch of decks I thought I was going to use, and then I was drawn to this one. She is the moon. He's recognizing the divine feminine right now. I'm also getting the 2. So we have 21. So that narrows down to a 3, which is that Trinity energy. But I'm also getting the 2 and the 1. The 2 becoming 1. This is that union energy. I feel like union is heavily on the divine masculine's mind. And I feel like divine feminines, if you're thinking a lot about your divine masculine out of nowhere, if you are all of a sudden feeling their energy very palpably, even though you may have given up, even though you may have trouble believing, even though you may have just completely disconnected, detached, and kind of even withdrawn from the connection, if you've been where I've been, I feel like the divine masculine is heavily thinking about you as well. If this is somebody, because there's a little bit of a split going on, we talk about this all the time, if this is somebody that you have yet to meet, for example, if the person that you were originally connected to is not growing and you know that they're not your person, then there might be somebody new that's coming in as a masculine, as a conscious masculine connection that matches your frequency. They might be thinking about you energetically. They might not know you specifically. You might not know them specifically, but they're thinking about you, or they're thinking about your energy, or they're thinking about what a conscious feminine is. If this is your original counterpart that has been growing, that has been expanding, that has been doing their healing work and is on their journey as you are, I feel like they are thinking about you specifically. You'll know which path you're on. My collective is a little bit split in that regard, where some of you are meeting new counterparts, some of you are meeting soulmates, some of you are having the original person or the old person come back. Take it as it resonates for you. This is a collective reading. You are very heavily on their mind. Very heavily on their mind. And there's a new recognition. And this has been coming in for a couple months, but I feel like there's something that's anchoring in here now. We're going to get more on this in a minute. Yeah, look at this. You have the card coming together at the bottom of the deck. This feels like union. I feel like union is heavily on this divine masculine's mind. What's going on for the divine feminine? We're going to get more on the divine masculine in a minute. I just want to see where the divine feminine is at. Where's the divine feminine? The spiral dance of the goddess. I'm getting this number 11, again, 11 number, but I feel more like an individual energy. I feel like divine feminine, you're just kind of like in this cocoon. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, a couple of days ago, and I said, I feel like I'm in this like cosmic egg right now. What I'm seeing is like a golden egg around me, and it feels very protective. It feels very warm. It feels very nurturing. And I feel like I'm giving birth to yet another new version of myself. But it's not, it feels more like an anchoring in. It feels more of like an integration of all this new energy that I've been kind of like moving into over the past several weeks and the past several months. And it feels like I'm in this cosmic egg. And that's what I feel like from this energy. I feel like Divine Feminine, you're kind of like in this cosmic egg, not curled up, not in like a fetal position, but there's a flowing kind of energy. There's like this dance. It's like you're kind of just like moving and dancing to your own rhythm. You're kind of self-focused right now. You might be focused on your career. You might be focused on your business. You might be focused on your relationships. You might be even focused on your spiritual practice and rituals and your studies and things like that, expanding within yourself or your own self-growth. But it feels very internal. It feels very individualistic. I don't feel like you're focused on the other. I feel like you're very focused within, and that is your inner union. You don't have to focus on the other because the other is a natural part of you. You don't have to focus on the masculine because the masculine is a part of you. And you can feel that. He's not outside of you. There's an internalness about this. And there's a very fluid kind of energy that's coming through here for the Divine Feminine. I feel like you're really allowing the energy to just flow and move. And you guys can't see me right now, but like I'm moving my body. It's like I'm dancing. Like that's what it feels like. It feels very fluid right now. And if you're not feeling this right now, maybe take a look at some of the previous Sacred Union energy updates or Ascension relationship updates, because those might resonate with where you are right now. And this might be what's to come. This might be what you're anchoring in and the energy that you're moving into. So if you're not here right now, remember, everybody is walking up the mountain, maybe at a different pace or maybe up on their different path, but it's the same mountain. So there is no competition. There is no judgment. There is no comparison. You are where you are meant to be, and it's beautiful and perfect for you. If this is where you are, just let me know. Confirm this for me, because this is very strange energy. Very different energy. Let's see what's going on for the union energies here. Yeah, Divine Feminines, there's I'm also getting a lot of womb energy. And I feel like you're birthing not only new versions of yourself, but you're birthing new things out into the world. This is your creativity. There's a lot of sacral activity that's going on. I feel like you're very fertile right now, metaphorically speaking. I feel like you're very creative right now. I feel like you are ready to just kind of give birth. Almost like you might be in a little bit of a gestation period, but you're getting like preparation, like you're getting ready to give birth to new aspects of yourself. No, they're bringing me a specific phrase. They're saying new expressions of yourself. So this does have something to do with creativity. Now, creativity is an expression of yourself. Creativity could be something like art. It can be something like music, writing, business, courses, programs. It can be new friendships. It can be whatever. It's an expression of yourself. An expression of yourself. I'm just trying to see if there's any other way that they can articulate that, but that feels complete. So I feel like there's this womb activation, this womb energy, and there's this creative energy that's coming forth. And I feel like as you're anchoring into this higher embodiment and higher frequency within yourself, that's been coming through, you're really anchoring it in now, grounding it so that you're embodying this. Now you're beginning to express that in new ways, in new versions, with new creativity, however that's going to resonate for you. I feel like the 1111 portal was a big one, so you might want to check out the 1111 portal reading as well. All right, what's going on for the sacred union between the two? What's going on for the sacred union energy? We have the fire and ice energy, and we have becoming. I like the fire and ice energy because what I'm getting from this is like it feels like it's impossible. Twin flames are often opposites attract, and that's why when a lot of the times when you meet, it's a very different from a soulmate connection. You have that same kind of soul recognition and familiarity and that love that you have from a soulmate, but it's very much opposites attract. This is very different from karmic relationships where there's opposites attract. It's a very different energy. This is an energy that is housed in love, and you can allow yourself to reflect on your relationship to really understand the energy of it and the feelings of it. I feel like with the fire and ice, it's like, how the hell is this ever going to work? because it feels so opposite. But remember, as twins, you are two sides of the same coin. You're coming at it from two different angles, and that's where some of that miscommunication might happen. That's where some of the misunderstandings might happen, because you feel so familiar. You feel like each other. And so it's like, why don't you understand it from this perspective? Or why don't you understand what it is that I'm saying? Because you do on some level. You understand each other, but you're approaching it from two different angles, and that's where some miscommunication happens. Do you understand? It's like I'm trying to get an example here. It's like you understand energetically each other. You understand the soul of each other. But sometimes the 3D-ness just gets in the way. And that's where a lot of the triggers come up. It's all the 3D stuff. And if you were just to bring it back to the energy, then you would know that you actually do understand each other. You're just approaching it from two different mind spaces, or two different mindsets, or two different perspectives. For example, my counterpart and I, we had the same values, we had the same understandings of concepts of the universe and stuff, but we approached it from two very different angles. And that's where a lot of our miscommunication and frustration with each other came in, is because we both wanted each other to kind of approach it from the same place, and we weren't. We were understanding the same thing, but we were approaching it from two different angles. But that's where we could have, if we had become more conscious, and I take responsibility for this too. If I had been more conscious of this for myself, I could have learned a lot more from him. And I did learn a lot from him. I learned a lot about the mind. He taught me a lot about the mind, whereas I was approaching things from the heart space. So we were understanding the same concept spiritually, but it was coming from two different angles, or two different perspectives. Whereas he was more esoteric, I might have been more, I don't want to say traditional. I don't know. I might have just been approaching it from a different place. That's what the fire and ice energy feels like. It feels like opposites attract. How is this ever going to work? How can fire and ice come together? But fire and ice are two very powerful elements, and you have this becoming, and this feels like a merging. It does come together. It is a powerful energy. You both have something to bring to the table here. Okay, they just pulled back from that, so I'm gonna move on. This just feels like that union energy. This just feels like that opposites attract energy, and there is value in both. Two powerful elements, two powerful energies coming together, one powerful connection here. All right, I'm also getting called to this one, the cloak. I feel like you might not be able to see this yet. It's the moon kind of energy. I feel like you might be feeling the energy of it, but in the 3D, your union might still be a little bit veiled. But the union happens in the 5D first, and I really feel like we're feeling the energy of the 5D union before we're seeing it in the physical experience. That's what this all feels like. It feels like the 5D union. It's so hard for me to channel this, because my ego wants to be like, how the hell is this possible? Unconsciously, I don't know. Egoically, I don't know. But it is. And that's where you just have to trust and have faith, I guess. Let's see what's going on for the Divine Masculine. Whew, yeah, this might be some of the tension that we're feeling, and I feel like this might be why they're thinking of you, and why they're wanting to perhaps even reach out. I feel like this is a masculine who had reached out in the past, and I feel like they want to reach out because they're going through some heaviness, and I feel like a lot of the heaviness is about you and about this connection. They might be going through their own. Divine masculines do things very differently from the feminines. Masculine energy, they do things through experience. They learn through experience. Now, they don't have to learn through struggle. They don't have to learn through suffering. That is a shift that in their energy that they can make. It becomes conscious. It's by the choices that you make. But they learn through experience. And I feel like they might be going through, or have been going through, some heavy experiences. And I feel like part of that is recognizing how they had treated you and the heartbreak that they felt with you. We have the Three of Swords, the Five of Pentacles, and the Death card, and the Death is always indicative of transformation for me. However, here I feel like they feel like there is an ending. They're feeling the heaviness of this ending. They're feeling the weight of this ending. And I feel like where they were kind of in a victimhood energy of woe is me, I'm left out in the cold, I feel like they're beginning to see how they left you out in the cold, how they pushed you away. I did some readings. I recorded some readings for the collective, like the collective mini readings that I do for like TikTok, Instagram, and here on YouTube. I recorded some readings, and there's one that I did that it's like both of you were betrayed. You felt like both of you felt betrayed by the ending. Both of you felt betrayed by whatever separation or breakup was there. That was not a sacred union specific or divine partnership specific reading, but I'm getting called to that energy in that reading now. It's like, so that might resonate with you guys. It's not ready to go up yet, but when that does go up, I feel like it might resonate with you. I'm calling it Where's the Love, or Where Did the Love Go, or something like that. So make sure that you stay tuned for that. Because it feels like this. It's like, where did the love go? It's like, I feel like the masculine is recognizing that he had everything and it was right in front of him, and it's like he pushed it away. And he was pushing it away out of his own woundedness and out of his own fear and out of his own sense of lack within himself. But I feel like he's beginning to realize that he left himself out in the cold, and he left you out in the cold as well. And there's a lot of pain around this. There's a lot of heartbreak around this. There's a lot of this. I want to give this masculine like a rose course. I feel, because I just want to. I feel like I want this masculine to know like how deeply he's loved and still loved, and because I feel like this masculine is being very hard on himself. I feel like this masculine is just like sitting in that heavy energy, and rather than learning from the past, it's almost like wallowing in it. And it's like, love yourself through this. Believe in yourself through this. You can change yourself. You can change your life. You can change your connection. You can change this. Just love yourself through this. Don't be so hard on yourself. Whatever actions there were in the past, learn from it and choose differently. I just want to I want to give this masculine a rose quartz so that he loves himself more, because I feel like just this pain, it's like he's just sitting in that pain and just really like castigating himself, just really being just like, what's what is it, that like flagellation, what is it called? Anyway, like almost like that kind of energy, just really doing a number on himself mentally. But I feel like, I just want to send love to this masculine. Tell me more about this masculine before we get going to the feminines. I just want something flipped. Maybe not. Tell me more about this divine masculine. Oh, yeah, something did flip. The King of Pentacles. Oh, King of Pentacles, you guys know, is my favorite because it's stable. It is rock solid. It is somebody who can provide for themselves, can provide for others, and not just provide materially. I mean, hold that space. This is somebody who is independent, somebody who's able to have that stability in their own life, materially, especially, financially. But when I say provide for others, I mean to hold that space, to really be that grounded force. This is that, it's like an emperor kind of energy that's coming through. I feel like there's been so much instability. Oh, I'm just getting a lot of solar plexus energy here for this divine masculine. I feel like there's been so much instability. It's like, how do I recover from this? Is like the question that I feel like is haunting the divine masculine. And the answer is to find your strength, to build a new foundation. You have the Strength card and you have the Tower here to find that inner courage. I did the last collective reading that I did, I talked about how you are the warrior. And even if you have viewed yourself as the wounded warrior, you're a warrior nonetheless. And, it's about picking up those pieces. It's about, becoming the phoenix. It's about recognizing that the light within you might dim sometimes, but it doesn't go out. That fire is still burning. It might only come down to embers, but it's still burning. And it's up to you to kind of, stoke those flames. It's up to you to really find that courage within yourself and find that strength. And sometimes you have to hit rock bottom. And sometimes you have to just kind of crawl on your knees for a while. And sometimes you have to just kind of reach into yourself, into the core of yourself, to lift yourself out of it. That's what I feel like the masculine is doing right now. I feel like this has been a heavy energy. They might be going through a little bit of a dark night. But I feel like that's what they're doing. It's like they're about to be reborn. And I feel like Divine Feminines, you've been holding the space for quite a while. When I say that, I mean the last Sacred Union energy update, no, the 1111 portal it was, we talked about the Divine Feminine is in like the Merkaba. She's holding space within the Merkaba. This cosmic egg feels like that same energy where you're holding space not only for yourself, but you're holding space for the Divine Masculine. And this giving birth energy that I'm feeling for you, Divine Feminine, is being mirrored by the Divine Masculine. But I feel like where you've already given birth to like a new version of yourself and now you're anchoring in, I feel like the Divine Masculine is beginning to give birth to their new version of themselves. New sense of enlightenment, new sense of illumination, and a higher expansion within themselves. They're seeing things very, very differently now. They're seeing themselves very differently now. They're seeing their old wounding, they're seeing their old patterns, they're seeing their old unconscious self. And remember, Ascension is layers and layers and layers of consciousness and raising in that frequency and raising in that consciousness. And you might believe that you're a spiritual person and you're a spiritual being and you're a conscious being, but Ascension brings you to another level and another level and another level. And you have to be willing to go to those other levels and not being stuck at just one level. And I feel like this Divine Masculine is beginning to really understand that. They might not be, consciously aware of that with that verbiage, but I feel like they recognize that they're being called to a next level of themselves. They're being called to grow. They're being called to expand. They're being called to become who I feel they've always wanted to be and always perhaps seen themselves in their heart, but they never quite thought that they could reach it. They never quite felt, or maybe they were told that they couldn't get there to be the person that they want to be. But they're beginning to find that for themselves and they're beginning to want to walk that path. Tell me about the tower here. What's this tower here? The Emperor. Yep. The tower is indicative of new foundations. It's indicative of breakthroughs and revelations. The old foundation has to crumble for a new foundation to be built. A new foundation on that courage, a new foundation on that stability, a new foundation on viewing yourself differently than you had viewed yourself before. And I'm just feeling it come back to the Divine Feminine. I feel like oh my gosh, I'm just getting so overwhelmed by emotions by this masculine. I feel like Divine Feminine, this Divine Masculine is beginning to understand how you've always viewed them. And I'm just getting just this like flummoxed energy, this confusion of how could you have always looked at me with such love? How could you have always seen me when I couldn't even allow myself to be seen? I couldn't even see myself. And that's part of why they ran away, Divine Feminines. They ran away because you always saw them, the soul of them. You saw past their masks. You saw past their facades. You saw past their bullshit. And you always loved them. Does not mean that you tolerated their bullshit. It does not mean that you tolerated their masks. You had to hold boundaries for yourself, and that was your lesson, Divine Feminine. You had to hold those boundaries for yourself and learn for yourself, no, I'm not going to be treated like this. This is bullshit. This is your bullshit. I'm not going to allow for that blame. I'm not going to allow for that projection. And Divine Feminines, you had to go through your own healing, to look at your own patterns and your own programs and take responsibility for yourself. And part of that responsibility for yourself was having boundaries and saying, no, I'm not going to be treated like this because I'm not going to treat myself like this. And I feel like the Divine Masculine is beginning to recognize you and recognize the love that you've always had for them, that they just could not allow themselves to receive. And that's part of them reconciling the feminine energy within them and healing the feminine energy within them, is allowing themselves to actually receive that love and understand what love truly is. I feel like they had a distorted view of love, and they're beginning to really understand what love actually is, and maybe by contrast, what it isn't. And I feel like they're really seeing you, divine feminines. Now, this is very different from putting you on a pedestal, they're saying. This is not, they might have put you on a pedestal before. And I feel like they're seeing you not on that pedestal, but as human, as you are fallible. I should say, you're not infallible. You have your flaws. You have your mistakes. You have your, quirks and stuff like that. They're beginning to see that, but they're beginning to love all of that about you. Respect and honor all of that about you too. Not putting you on a pedestal of perfection, but recognizing the value that you have within the whole. It's a very, this divine masculine is going through a lot right now. There's a lot of complex energy and a lot of complex emotions. But they're becoming the emperor. They're beginning to almost take control of themselves, by which I mean take authority of themselves, to understand themselves, to recognize themselves, to connect deeper with themselves. This divine masculine had been very disconnected from themselves, and that was part of the problem. They have been disconnected from themselves. That's coming online. They're connecting to themselves, and thus they're beginning to recognize their strength, recognize their courage, and recognize that divinity and that love within themselves. It's almost like what I'm seeing is if the divine feminine is handing the divine masculine like a rose quartz heart, I feel like I'm seeing the divine masculine hold out their hand and allow themselves to receive it and put it in their heart space, where they might have pushed it away in the past, pushed that love away from you, divine feminine, pushed that love away for themselves. They're beginning to allow themselves to receive it. This is a very different energy, let me be clear, from the distorted masculine that just took. Not even knowing what they were taking, just took. It was like taking advantage, using. It was very unconscious, distorted state of being. This energy, the masculine is very aware of the precious nature of the jewel of your love. The jewel of your love that you're offering. They're very aware of the precious nature of this energy that you're offering and have always offered to them. And thus they're receiving that with this sense of reverence, with this sense of honor. This is, I don't even know how to explain this. This is wild, 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 and very deep. And I hope that I'm articulating it as much as I can. All right, let's see what's going on for the divine feminines. What's going on for the divine feminines? Queen of Pentacles to match the King of Pentacles. You have the Four of Wands and you have the Eight of Swords. Divine feminines, I'm going to start with the Eight of Swords here. I feel like you have felt trapped in this journey, in this connection. I feel like you have felt a little bit powerless and a little bit helpless. And I feel like part of what's happening is you've been drawing the energy back to yourself, and that is what's setting you free. That is what's liberating you. Because you were putting so much of the emphasis on the connection, or putting so much of the emphasis on the other. And again, bringing it back to yourself, and that's what part of that cosmic egg and that cocoon kind of energy is. And all the energy is flowing and moving and beautiful again, because you're bringing it back to yourself, and that's where you give birth to the new. And that's where you're grounding your energy. You're finding that stability within yourself. You're finding that nurturance within yourself, and you're grounding that energy to embody that energy, and that's where you give birth to that union. And I feel like this is where you're feeling the sacred union come in. You're feeling this energy. That's maybe why you're feeling your counterpart so strongly, because you're feeling the union energy, because in the 5D, there is a union, there is a reuniting. And I'm just seeing in my mind's eye these energetic beings coming together in this beautiful soul merge. There's beautiful light around them, and it is just this unconditional love and this unconditional embrace. And that's this union. It's this oneness. It's this coming together, and it's happening in the 5D. And I feel like that's what you can feel. You can feel that union. You can feel the energy. Now, remember, you can feel that energy within yourself because you have both the masculine and feminine within yourself, and that's your inner union. So you can feel that inner union first. And then it's going to trickle down into that outer union, into a partnership, a conscious partnership with somebody who is at your level, who is matching that frequency, etc. Yeah. Justice. We got the Justice card in the last Sacred Union energy update, and Justice is that energy of just kind of closure and karma completing, cycles completing in a place of balance. And remember, we talked about in the beginning of this channeling of how it's not one extreme or the other. That's about that balance, and that you can hold space for all emotions, you can hold space for all energies. That's this Justice energy. That's that balance, that's that union, that's that oneness within yourself here. I'm also getting this energy of fairness, and I feel like for all the hard work that you have done within yourself, you know, all the responsibility and accountability you've taken for your own healing journey, all the boundaries that you've set for yourself, all the shadow work that you've done, bringing those shadows to light. I feel like there is this energy of, you guys know I don't like the word reward, but that's what it feels like. It feels like cause and effect. That's all it is. That's all anything is. It's cause and effect. And I feel like because you have done the work, the effect is just this balance, this peace, these manifestations, this abundance that's coming in. It's like a reward from the universe, but the universe doesn't reward you. It just aligns with where you are. And because you have done the work, you're now into a higher frequency and a higher alignment. So you're going to be seeing those manifestations, seeing that abundance, seeing that peace, seeing those much more conscious relationships. And a conscious relationship, I feel it, I'm just hearing, is part of your timeline. The union is part of your timeline. And some of you have actually mentioned to me that you have met new counterpart connections that are on that frequency. For some of you, you're actually having the old counterpart come back in a new energy, in a higher energy, in a much more conscious energy. No matter what, you're going to have to rebuild those foundations together, whether it's with a new counterpart, you're building a foundation and trust and a conscious relationship together, or if it is the original counterpart, you're rebuilding that foundation, you're rebuilding that trust. No matter what, we've always said it's like you have to get to know each other again, whether it's somebody new or whether it's the old person, because you are very new. You're in a new energy. You're not the same person that you were when you began this journey, as you're not meant to be. This journey is one of expansion. This journey is one of evolution. This journey is one of homecoming. You're not going to be the same person that you were when you began, and that's the purpose. It is growth. It is soul growth. It is the deepest level of growth that you can do. It's a coming home to yourself in that place of love. And I feel like there are relationships that are matching that. Yeah, Queen of Cups. You have a lot of love to offer, Divine Feminines. This is you in that divine offering of love, because you have a lot of love to offer, and you know how to do that in healthy ways now. And I feel also like this is you holding out that kind of rose quartz energy, that love energy, not only to the Divine Masculine, but to the universe. You have a lot of love within you that just kind of ripples out from you. And one more card, please. And the Three of Wands. Yeah. The Three of Wands, I'm getting like there's this new path that you've been on. And that new path is bringing in new manifestations, new abundance. Maybe if we're bringing it down to the 3D, maybe new relationships, new soul family connections, maybe new job or career or projects or promotions or opportunities of some sort. But it's new. It's new, and it's because you're just in the state of expansiveness. You're just in the state of love. You are the state of love. And so love has no choice but to connect to you. Love as a whole, as like an abstract construct. One of my favorite poets is Emily Dickinson. I've loved her ever since I was in high school. And what I love about her is she personalizes the concepts of like death and time and love, etc. She actually like capitalizes as like personifies them in her poems, and they're bringing me that it's like you are love. You are the personification of love itself, and so you have no choice but to attract love to you. um, I feel if we're bringing it back to the divine masculine, because they're bringing it like full circle here, it's like that's what the divine masculine is beginning to understand. And rather than pushing it away, or rather than avoiding it or denying it, or even there was a sense of anger for a while at the divine feminine from the divine masculine for this. But it was because they weren't able to access that within themselves or see that love, that same love within themselves. Remember, you're one. You're one. And it was only from a false perception of self that they weren't able to see that love within themselves, that you were shining so bright. It was almost like they were turning away from your light because it was casting a light on the shadow for the divine masculine that said that, according to the divine masculine, that they were not that same love, and they are. They are that same love, and you've always seen that in them, divine feminines. Now they're beginning to see that within themselves, and so now they're beginning to honor that within you. It's a really beautiful energy here. Okay, this feels like it was a heavier energy. It feels like we covered a lot here. I'm going to end this reading here because, of course, this was a higher energy and a higher, more in-depth reading. I don't want to. I don't want anything to get lost in a more in-depth reading. There's a lot of messages here, so I feel like we're going to end it here and just let it be what it is. Please let me know if these readings are resonating with you. Let me know where you are on your journey so I can kind of get a gauge on where we are as far as the collective. Let me know how things are resonating for you, how you're doing with the energies, and we'll be back. If we're not back with a reading like this prior to Thanksgiving, I want to wish all of you who celebrate a very happy Thanksgiving, and just know that I am so deeply honored and grateful for this community, so deeply honored and grateful to be able to do the work that I do, that I love, and just so deeply grateful for this journey. I love all of you so very much, and I'm sending you all so much love and so much light.